Hey everybody, Rob from Karma, Chameleon coming at you with a couple of Choosing Beggars stories. First one, she asked for my help. I said yes. She asked for help again. I said no. Let's jump right in. What I have here are a few stories of encounters between myself and a choosing beggar. These stories aren't quite as dramatic or bombastic as some of the others you might see in this thread, just a couple of stories of me dealing with an annoying tiny girl. So back in one of my first semesters at college, I met this girl. For the sake of privacy, she'll be CB. I met her through a few friends I would hang out with at college. I didn't really pay her any mind. She had a habit of talking over people and talking really loudly. Then one semester, I wound up having a class with her. Seeing as I was the only person she knew in the class, she decided to always sit near me and try to talk to me. I didn't really think anything of it and just indulged her. Then one day, she asked me a favor. She asked if I could give her a ride home. I drive, she walks. When I asked where she lived, it turned out her home was just a little off my route home. I figured, why not? I'll drop her at her house, then go home. No problem. She continues to ask me to give her rides home every couple of classes, and I oblige. It's really not out of my way, and it was getting darker earlier. Then, one day, she asked for a little bit more. She asked if I could pick her up from home to take her to college in the morning. I asked her what time. She said 8 a.m. I think about it for a moment, then I tell her once again, sure, why not? It did mean I would have to get up earlier than normal, but not by much. The day comes, I go to her house, I wait for a few minutes, nothing. No sign of her. It's 8:05, I text her, no response. 8:10, I get out of my car, go up to her door and knock, no response. At 8:20, I give up. I drive to college. When I see her in class later that day, I ask her what happened. Oh, a friend of mine came by and helped me earlier. I guess I forgot to tell you. When did all of this get decided? Like yesterday? Yesterday? Why didn't you text me? It's okay, I just forgot. After that, she just acted like nothing happened. I was a little ticked, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a big deal. All it did was make me get up a little earlier and waste 20 minutes waiting. Not a big deal, really. However, I did silently decide to be more cautious with favors to CB. After that, I didn't really see her for some time. I didn't see her again until she wound up becoming roommates with a couple of friends of mine. This is where things get a little dicey. One time when I was hanging with my friends at their place, he asked if I could give him a ride to the store for some groceries. Once again, I drive and no one else seems to. I say sure. As we're heading out, CB noticed and asked to come along. So there we are, the three of us going shopping. On the way back, I roll my window down a bit to get some fresh air. Roll your window up. She's in the seat behind me. Jokingly, I didn't hear a please. Quite forcefully, roll your window up. Me, taken aback, say please. It turns into her shouting at me for the rest of the drive about how cold she is and how rude I am. Once we get back to their place, only a 5-minute drive by the way, she storms out of my car, goes inside, and slams the door in her own roommate's face. Didn't even grab any of the groceries. At this point, I'm done doing favors for her. Over the time she roomed with my friends, I had a few encounters with her, none of them really worth mentioning here, just her being really annoying. Then one day, I'm hanging with my friends in one of their rooms playing games, with another friend in tow, when she bursts in. She looks around, sees me, and demands, pointing at me, I need you to drive me to, insert name of town 3 hours away. What? Why? I don't have a car and I need to go there for work. Note, she had finally gotten a car and then trashed it. Her parents sent her a new one not a week later. What do you mean you don't have a car? Your parents just gave you one. Looks at me like I'm an idiot. I sold it to get a better one, but I don't have the new one yet, so I need you to drive me. Don't ask me about that one. I don't even. Nope. Go back to my game. Why? I feel I should mention just how heavy-handed and conceited that why was. 1. Insert town name here is 3 hours away. That's a round trip of 6 hours. 2. I don't know the way as I've never driven there before. 3. My car is probably not in the best condition to drive that long of a distance. 4. You have shown very little gratitude for favors I've done for you in the past. 5. I just plain don't wanna. The next few minutes are just her and me going back and forth. Do it! No. Why not? I don't wanna. That's not a good enough reason. It's all the reason I need. At this point, I ain't even mad, just being cheeky. Eventually, she turned to my friend, her roommate, tell him he needs to take me to insert town name. Sighing, if he doesn't want to do it, you can't make him. She finally storms off. After a while, we hear her leave the house and figure she must have gotten someone to give her a ride. Our little group just laughs it off and continue our game. I later learned from my friend that she asked him if I was retarded or something, and why do you hang out with him? That was the last major incident I had with her. I saw her a few times after that, but I think she got the message. Thankfully, she lives on the other side of the world now. And that's my choosing beggar story. Got a bit wordy there, and like I said, not a super WTF or dramatic story, just a couple little tales about a small, annoying girl. I can understand somebody making a mistake. Okay, so I forgot you were coming by to pick me up and went with somebody else. It happens. But you have to be apologetic when something like that happens. If you're gonna be just like, oh, it's okay, I just forgot. Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna do anything for you ever again. Let's jump into our next story. Realized my best friend was a choosing beggar. Let's jump right in. My ex-best friend from grade school and most of high school, I realized is an amazing choosing beggar. A few years back, we were without transportation, and I figured that since we were such good friends in school, she might help us with a few trips. I always made sure that I paid her well for wherever she took me by either giving her excessive gas money, sometimes $20 for just short trips, or I would give gas money and get her something at a fast food place. I mean, she was going out of her way to do something for me. It was only fair that I paid her back well for it. Well, it wasn't long after she started giving us rides, which was about twice a week, she came to me upset and crying because she couldn't afford groceries in the house. She wouldn't work, well, claimed that she didn't have the time to work because her husband at the time was diabetic and just had to have 24-hour care. I met this guy, he seemed okay to me. He was able to move around just fine, no issues from what I could see. She did have a daughter at home, so I just couldn't bear the thought of that sweet girl not having food to eat after school. She wanted me to loan her $50 for groceries. I gave her $100. I didn't think much of it at the time. I knew they needed it. We go to drop off the food at her house, and I will try to describe this the best way that I possibly can. First off, when I met her husband, it was in a store, so I didn't know that she brought something from her childhood into her adult life. When she was living at home, their house was just a disaster. Now, I have never claimed to be the queen bee of house cleaning, but there were more clothes on their floor than in their closets. You couldn't find a clean dish in the whole house. Most of them were sitting around with molded food or drink on the tables. Every member of that house but one, the younger sister, smoked at the time, so there were cigarette butts everywhere. Dust over an inch thick, and at night, six-legged friends running around on the counters. When I walked in her house that day, I almost cried. I was hoping that she would change from the way that she grew up and keep a clean house, or a cleaner house. Their kitchen didn't look as bare as she claimed. When I opened the fridge, I am glad that I have no sense of smell. I won't discuss the mess in that fridge. Regardless, I helped her unload the groceries, and she then took me back home. She told me that night, as soon as my husband gets his check, I will come pay you. I told her that was fine, but don't sit and dwell on it. Anytime that she had to take her kid or herself to the doctor, she would always call me. Why? Because she knew if I was with her, that I would foot the gas bill. I got to noticing real quick that the only time she called me was when she needed to take her daughter to the eye doctor. Can you help with some gas money? I mean, you are in the vehicle. Well, you asked if I would come, and I did need some things from the store, so I agreed, but I didn't ask you first to take me somewhere. Instead of overpaying the gas for her car these times, I started giving her anywhere between $5 and $8 for the rides, and finally stopped paying altogether. Once I stopped paying for her to take me somewhere that she asked me if I wanted to go, she stopped coming around. One of the last times that she came by the house, her son had decided that he wanted to move in with her instead of live with his dad. That night, we had just gotten our tax refund, so when she called and asked if I would ride with her, she was upset and nervous. I agreed. I said, since you are going by the store, I need to stop and get a few things. Oh, really? Well, I could use a few things as well, in my mind. I was thinking a job, but I just sighed and asked what she needed. It was always something that would grab sympathy, a necessity item like something to drink, or food, or feminine products. Well, I ran out of tampons. I just have no idea what I will do. I have some of those at the house. I can give you a few. That should help out. Oh no, I don't want to take away from you. You can just get me a box and I will pay you back when he gets his check. I knew that check was never coming, or in a time frame that I would see any repayment. I mean, it was just a few dollars, but I wanted to see if the thought would ever cross her mind again. It never did. He eventually started drawing disability checks. After that night at the store, it wasn't a week until we were able to get our own transportation. It was at that time the best $600 I have ever spent in my life. It wasn't a gorgeous car, but it got us from A to B. That was amazing. She pulled up in the driveway and saw we had a new car. Came in to hang out for about an hour, tried to beg me out of my medication. I wouldn't give her any, and she left. She hasn't been back to the house since that day. That was about 4 years ago. I was sitting here today, and something made me think about her, and I started thinking about some of these things that happened, and it hit me that she was a choosing beggar. Not as crazy as some, but still a choosing beggar. I think the main part of this story that's actually digging at me is the fact that she says, oh, the husband was probably fine because she saw him in a store. Well, there's no way for us to tell that for sure. Unless you're living with that person or you have intimate knowledge of their needs, you can never be sure. So a comment like that just doesn't fit in my books. Once again, this is Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon saying thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe, like, and share the video with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.